Good evening. I call the September 17, 2024 meeting of the Sarpy County Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Ms. Timby, would you please call the roll?
Ackley.
Here.
Vernock.
Here.
Matea. Van Wielden. Whitfield.
Here.
Huddleston.
Here.
Dembinski.
Here.
Giff.
Here.
Weiss.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Van Wielden and Matea absent. We have a quorum.
I invite you to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a public meeting subject to the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A current copy of the law is located on the north wall of this room. Please feel free to review the law before making any comments. I'd like to do an introduction of the planning staff and legal counsel. Don Simon, Planning Director; Kelly Jeck, Planning Coordinator; Scott Bovick, Deputy County Administrator; Kayla Hathcote, Deputy County Attorney; Rosario Ramirez, Deputy County Attorney; Lisa Timby, Permit Technician; Jose Garcia, IT Support; Dennis Wilson, Sarpy County Engineer. Since last month, we have a new section to our public meetings here. This time is designated for individuals to address the Commission on topics not otherwise listed on the agenda. Right now, it looks like nobody has signed up to make a comment. Is there anybody who would like to come forward to make a public comment? Seeing none, we will move on with our regular agenda. The first order of business is to approve or edit the minutes from the prior meeting. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 20th, 24.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. Yeah. 5 yeas, 2 absent, Van Wielden, Matea, 3 abstained, Giff, Preston, Weiss. Motion carries.
Okay, let's move on to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Each agenda item will adhere to the following format as detailed by the Sarpy County Commission bylaws. The planning staff will introduce and briefly explain the agenda item. The applicant or the applicant's representative will be given 5 minutes to provide information about the project to the Commission. After the applicant's presentation, I'll open the floor to public comment. Please keep your comments relevant to the agenda item, and to keep the meeting moving forward, please avoid repeating what others have said. First item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing and recommendation, special use permit in RS 72 to allow a home occupation 1 major for a home-based salon service at 15914 Timber Lane Drive, legally described as Lot 508 Millard Park, as surveyed, platted, and recorded in Sarpy County, Nebraska. Applicant none in Nguyen. I apologize.
Nguyen.
Thank you.
Commissioners, this application is requesting the approval of a special use permit to allow a home occupation for a beauty salon suite in a single-family residence in the RS 72 Single-Family Residential District. The property is located at 15914 Timber Lane Drive, which is Lot 508 in Millard Park subdivision. The applicant has provided an operation plan for the proposed salon business. The business will provide hair and nail services. The applicant will be the sole operator who resides at the residence. There will be no additional employees. Appointments will be scheduled to provide service to one customer at a time. Hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. A portion of the main floor of the existing residence will be remodeled for the suite, including a half bath, hair wash station, pedicure chair, and a dedicated entry-exit door for customers. And let me show you the proposed floor plan. Applicant has a cosmetologist license from the state of Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health. Staff's review, the 3-car wide driveway, go back to the aerial, will provide adequate space for a client. Remodeling of the existing residence for the proposed use will require the issuance of the proper building permits and must be built in compliance with adopted building codes. And this includes the installation of the appropriate separators on the sanitary connection for this business use. Applicant shall keep and enforce all required licenses from the state of Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health. Home occupation shall comply with the minimum standards of Section 34 of the Sarpy County zoning regulations. Standards such as, but not limited to, no more than 30% of the home may be used for the home occupation. There shall be no external evidence of the home occupation with the exception of the vehicles. There cannot be advertising displays or devices displayed through a window of the building, and all contact by the public shall be by appointment only. And as with any special use permit, the County Board of Commissioners, if this is approved, may revoke a special use permit if the use has been abandoned for the period of 1 year or if the use is found to have been substantially varied from the original permitted intent, and thus is found in nonconformance with the original special use permit issue. Staff recommends approval of a special use permit for a home occupation 1 major to allow a home-based salon service from a personal residence at 15914 Timber Lane Drive, legally described as Lot 508, Millard Park, in accordance with the operational plan submitted by the applicant and the general comments in the recommendation report, as the request is in conformance with the Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan and zoning regulations. The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Sure. If so moved, I would invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to make any comments at this point.
Did you want to say anything? Sure, come on up.
Come up.
Sure, sure. Just sign in on the...
Please state your name and address for the record.
Daniel Beeman, 15914 Timber Lane Drive, Omaha, Nebraska 68136.
New Win. The address is 15914 Timberland Drive, Omaha, Nebraska 68136.
I don't. It's just her working, so we're not trying to make a big business here. Just she wants to be able to work from home and be independent. You know, it's really expensive to rent a suite, so Sorry, I'm not really good at this. Do you guys have any questions about it, or?
Thank you.
Okay.
At this point, I'll close the public hearing, and if any of the Planning Commission members have any items or questions to discuss on this.
If there's no questions, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve of this special use permit for home occupation 1 major to allow home-based salon service from a personal residence at 15914 Timberlane Drive, legally described as Lot 508 Millard Park, all in accordance with the operational plan submitted by the applicant and the general comments in the recommendation report, as this request is in conformance with Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan and the zoning regulations.
Second.
Please vote. Okay, I got it. 8 yeas, 2 absent, Van Wielden, Matea, motion carries.
Second item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing and recommendation, comprehensive plan amendment to Section 5 Transportation, adoption to the Southeast Sarpy Road Network Plan. The applicant is Sarpy County.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, I'm Scott Bovick. I'm the Deputy County Administrator here at the county. Work closely with the County Board of Commissioners, and then I also work closely with Denny Wilson from the County Engineer's Office on road projects. And then I'm also work with our Planning and Building Department. Over the last couple of years, the County Board has worked really hard to develop what they're calling the next wave of road construction across the county. Obviously, Sarpy's had tremendous growth in the past 10, 20, 30 years, and we know that that will continue. And so when we build road projects, we always do that in partnership with developments, partnership with the local communities, working together to get bigger projects and share in the cost of that, which works well for all the entities and all the citizens through those partnerships. The challenge for the county has been we've always or mostly been reactive to growth, and so it's always been a challenge to do things correctly and have a plan in place that we could work through proactively. And so over the last year, the county board tasked me and the county engineer's office and cooperation with our partner cities to try to develop some plans for the future growth areas of the county. And so it's exciting to be here tonight because after a year or two of work, we have 2 plans to present to you. The first one is the Southeast Road Network Plan, which is a southeastern area of the county, which has some real challenges in being able to develop and no real good plan. The other plan we'll talk about is the Western Sarpy Transportation Enhancement Plan. We call it WESTEP, is kind of a fun acronym, and that's a larger part of Western Sarpy County. Tonight, what we're asking the Planning Commission to do is to have a public hearing on these items, review them as comprehensive plan amendments. We'll amend them into our comprehensive plan. They won't actually be kind of baked into the language of it. They'll just serve as like appendix to the existing comprehensive plan. So with that, do want to move to the first item, which is the Southeast Road Network Plan. This is a project that the county worked with the cities of Bellevue and Papillion on, and just really, again, create a road network for a difficult area, growing area. It covers about half of Papillion's jurisdiction and half of Bellevue's jurisdiction. The county and the partners hired FHU, it's a consulting firm, to lead this plan. And Greg Ewell from FHU is here tonight, and I'll turn this over to him in a second. Besides Denny and then Zach Hergenrader from Denny's office, who's a senior engineer engineer who participated. We also had from the county's side, Steve Jensen. I think you've probably seen Steve before. He helps us on some more of these longer term planning as a consultant. So it's great to have Steve involved with us as well. So turn over to Greg. He'll present some of the details of the plan, but we're happy to have a conversation and answer questions once we get through that part. So thank you. Greg.
Good evening. I'm Greg Ewell with FHU, as Scott introduced me, and got to work on this Southeast Sarpy Road Network plan. As you look at the areas, it's south of Capehart Road, east of 72nd Street, west of 36th Street, and north of Platteview Road. And as an interesting area, as we started to look at this and look at all the comprehensive plans in the area for the county and the cities, it was an area that the road network in that area had never really been planned out for the most part. So because of the terrain and some of the challenges in the area, so it's a real interesting area to take a look at and develop this plan for. As Scott mentioned, of course, with the coming anticipated growth in the area with the sewer agency south of the Ridgeline and all of the other needs for a comprehensive transportation network, it was time to take a look at this. So we did a lot of public outreach, I will mention. As part of this, we had a project advisory committee, folks from the different cities and counties, Sarpy County Wastewater Agency. We also reached out to the utilities, to the school districts, the PAPIO NRD, Nebraska Department of Transportation, MAPA. We had Economic Development Agency, Chamber of Commerce, Offutt Air Force Base. So we were in contact with a lot of people. And as we did each of those meetings, it was like a different little piece of the puzzle kind of came together. You get a little different angle and some different information. So that was very worthwhile to go through that. We call this our spaghetti bowl image here with all the red lines. That was, if there was something you could think about, an idea for an alignment for the road, we probably thought about it. So again, we're trying to look at what are the major pathways to go through there. As we looked at the area, it really became apparent that there are certain access points to the area that are really key. So for instance, 60th Street from the north, or Fairview Road from the west, 57th Street, which comes up from the south and accesses all the properties and residential areas to the south of this area. And then the east, of course, you have a lot of subdivisions, so it wasn't immediately clear where the access point might be to the east, perhaps Schneekloth Road. As we looked at that, it's like more important that we figure out where those access points are and connect them somehow. And exactly how it got through wasn't probably the most important thing, but that was kind of what we were tasked for, is figure out how we do that. So the criteria that were developed with the committee and all that stakeholder input as we look at the different alternatives was avoiding property impacts to the existing landowners and really thinking about that of how the land is likely to be developed as we go forward. Of course, providing traffic flow and continuity for the future, enhancing economic development potential. And I'll mention one thing we did as a side of this is we hired Doug Halverson. You may be familiar with work with Doug. He's, of course, worked on a lot of the developments around town. We pulled him out of retirement to work on this project, and he came up with kind of a vision for this and looking at it from the lens of a developer. Like, how is this land, how are the parcels likely to be assembled? What is likely to happen as this develops? And he also came up with a very good kind of a way to think about how this could potentially serve as a gateway to this area as this develops. So particularly as we have the Platteview Road Expressway being planned, how could this kind of be a gateway to this whole area, particularly from that 57th Street? So the ultimate alternatives weren't exactly what Doug had developed, but they definitely were influenced and kind of inspired by his vision that he did. Of course, we want to be respectful in considering the environment and the impacts on the natural resources and looking at the cost as well. So those were the criteria. The different alternatives were screened. Through this, we developed cross sections for different roadway types that could be developed as part of this. We also did a right-of-way analysis for all the existing and potential future roadways. And then we also did a plan and profile set, so did a little bit of preliminary engineering on the ultimate alternative. So there was a lot of work that went into this. So ultimately, the recommendations that came out of this was for a north-south arterial connecting from 57th Street, a proposed new interchange there at Platteview Road, which wasn't our idea. That came out of the Platteview Road plans that would then connect up to 60th Street. So kind of a primary north-south arterial. And then an east-west arterial road that would come over from Schneekloth. Schneekloth, of course, heads over to the east. It's not a real heavily trafficked road today, but that does provide access to Highway 75, from 25th Street via Fairview. So, and then that would head up to Fairview Road on the west side. The very preliminary costs that were developed as part of this, if you did that full section to ultimate build out, so this isn't necessarily the first thing would be built, would be $33 million in today's dollars for that east-west corridor and $20 million for the north-south corridor. And then, of course, you'd have, collector roads that would go into that. So I did want to go over here to the, let's see here. Let's see. Which one is it here, Scott? This one here? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is the actual brochure that we had at the public workshop. We had a public workshop or open house in April. And we also had an online opportunity for comment. We did have over 100 people attend that. So we got some good feedback. I really did not hear any major concerns from the landowners. It was, for the most part, asking questions and interest, and I would say generally supportive of the vision that was laid out for this. Again, I think that north-south corridor seems to be really important. You have the Harvey Reservoir. That's kind of the green area. And when I say reservoir, if you haven't been to the area, it's largely dry today, just to give you a visual image of it. But it is an environmentally sensitive area that we wanted to really think of. And as we did that, we looked at a number of alternatives. Should we go around it? Should we, how should that route go? But ultimately, when all the considerations were taken into account, as you can see, like there's the bridge in the bottom right corner there. So you can do bridges and culverts in a very environmentally respectful way where you connect trails. And that would be something that came out of the full plan, if you go and look into that we would try and plant this little seed there, that could end up really being a park space or open space, have some green space for that crossing there. Is done in a very beautiful way. And then the east-west, we looked at connecting over from Schneekloth, like I said, providing access to 75. Also, what that does is it provides a nice, kind of helps to shape the future land use and development to the south as that Platteview Road Expressway gets developed. So it kind of provides some definition there for future development. And then ultimately from Fairview, you see that curves to the south there, talked with the City Papillion extensively, and we looked at, is there a way to just punch that through straight to the east? And there really was not. It was ultimately just deemed infeasible. There's right-of-way challenges, there's terrain challenges, there's creek and wetlands in there. So the recommendation here is for that to actually swerve to the south and then provide connectivity over to the east. I will also mention we did talk with Nebraska DOT, Tom Goodbarn, the district engineer, because with this north-south route, 60th Street would ultimately connect into 370. And Highway 370 has a full access intersection at 66th Street, not 60th. The district engineer did indicate that he was supportive of a ultimate full access intersection at 60th Street if this were to be built out. And that's part of the appendix to the study, as we have written confirmation of that. So would encourage maybe jumping on that. He just said a permit request needs to come from the local jurisdictions. So while he is a district engineer, it might be a good time to jump on that. Then as far as the next steps, of course, the adopting this as part of the comprehensive plan, which you're looking at today, is one of those next steps. The county and the cities, potentially with future development, could look at how this gets funded and developed. We really do think that probably the most important piece to preserving the integrity of this vision is that north-south piece. So if there's an intersection done at 57th and Platteview today, if you're coming to the north from 57th Street, you have to turn either left or right, even if you want to head straight north. So if there were, that first piece there from north of 57th and Platteview might be strategically the first piece to do, and then that could help make sure that the rest of this happens, and you could pull Schneekloth over further from the east, and then ultimately connect into Fairview as development comes along and as it is warranted and the land turns over. So trying to cover a lot of information here, but that's pretty much the gist of the study. It was a very interesting study to get to work on and get to look at this piece of area, and it'll be exciting to see how it develops in the future. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
I guess one of the questions that I've heard from some of the property owners on the east end of the east-west corridor is the traffic when it gets to 36th Street off of this boulevard corridor, continuing along what is now Sneecloth Road and on to 25th Street. I mean, it's really not that's not really set up for much traffic right now. You got an elementary school there, you got a golf course on one side. I mean, so where does this traffic, when we get to this point at 36th Street, where does it go?
I don't.
And it doesn't really get to 75 in a very easy way.
Right. I don't have the exact traffic numbers with me, but we did look at the future traffic demand, and it wasn't, I want to say it was like less than 10,000 vehicles per day towards that end. So it is not a huge number. It probably could be accommodated with a 3-lane road. That said, of course, you'll have a lot of change over in that area. You'll have the new interchange going to the south to Platteview Road. So is going to, the character of that area will change quite a bit. And also, the City of Bellevue is currently with us working on their comprehensive plan update, and they intend to kind of take what came out of this plan and incorporate that. So they may need to look at some future adjustments in that area as well within the City of Bellevue.
But is the thought that this traffic will continue east on a future corridor and try to meet into Fairview Road and the Kennedy Freeway, or do you think it's more likely that that traffic is going to just go south and get on the Platteview Road Expressway as it's identified there and then go over to the Kennedy Freeway?
Yes, I think the vast majority of traffic would be heading south there. But I did mention the connection to 75 just as another outlet. But I think that'd be a very small percentage of the traffic that actually would make that movement.
One of the things, one of the things, when you look at this map, you're seeing the east-west and the north-south connection, but there's going to be other roads, right? There's going to be other collector roads through there. And so one of the things that happens now, because of all that development to the north, it has really nowhere to go. So it dumps out in 2 spots. So if we can continue to build the arterial network and to continue to build the expressway and then let those collectors kind of flow at the developer's desire, we're hoping that'll disperse traffic for the most part. And then 36th Street's obviously getting improved by the City of Bellevue. And so that'll be a major north-south corridor. And then, you know, the Platteview Expressway is kind of shaded in there, but if you go from 36th and Sneecloth just right to the south, it'll curve in and have a nice, close, clean connection to the expressway. So the whole network needs to be built out, but we saw, I think, early on in the planning that people aren't going to go east on Sneecloth and try to get up to Fairview. It's just not going to be the quickest, best, most visible route. There'll still be some traffic because you can still get to the Highway 75, but we're hoping to kind of manage that by giving them other options to the west. It'd be easier here to do that rather than do that to maybe get on the expressway and go, up to 10th Street or something. So.
I'm assuming the Platteview Expressway is going to be controlled access, limited access.
Right. Yes, that was kind of the parameters that we were given going into this was, and so that was something kind of a communications challenge with the public was this isn't the actual Platteview Road Expressway study. I think we were able to get over that hurdle okay, but we were basically told assume kind of an ultimate build out for this along the Platteview Road, which would be to controlled access.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's not, you got 2 parallel major streets a quarter mile apart. So.
Yeah, and when we've kind of looked at Platteview, and maybe Steve, you were also involved in some of the Platteview Expressway planning, but when you think about this area of Platteview Road, it's kind of helpful to think of like the West Dodge Expressway. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at I'm going to say 168th, 156th in Dodge, you got the expressway, and then right after that, to the north, maybe 132nd is a good example. You have a frontage road that businesses can have some frontage onto the highway, even though they don't have access, and then can develop off the back of it. So that's kind of the reason for that curve, was to make sure there's enough property between the expressway and that future Fairview so that that can be developed. And then the proposal for the Platteview Expressway, we're probably going to start calling it the Southern Sarpy Expressway, because it will be off alignment to the north a few hundred feet, and an existing Platteview Road will revert to like a frontage road, and so that will be a key access point, so we can protect that access on the expressway.
Isn't part of the idea that the expressway would take the majority of the truck traffic also?
I hope so. I think there probably some of that truck traffic needs to circulate, but the way we talk about the belt or the expressway with the state and others is a beltway. Lancaster County has their southern beltway. Omaha Metro area needs a southern beltway, and so we're hoping that that's what the look and feel and usage of that will be, is that truck traffic that's just trying to get across the county and through here, and then we have local arterial roads that are for more local, I guess, kind of circulation. Yeah.
There's quite a bit of traffic that follows along 48th and Cape Art. Will 48th have a connection point onto the new proposed road going through Schnicklaw?
Yeah, so if you see those orange dots, that indicates that would likely come on through to the south and connect.
Okay.
Yes, and I know the 48th and Cape Art is in design and being worked on right now as an intersection improvement.
Thank you.
So, and I mean, again, I would just say, like kind of Scott mentioned, there would be other roads than just this. There would be other collector streets that feed into this, but we didn't want to try and predict how all those would get shaken out. A lot of that would be developed as developments come along. Okay. Yeah.
So one thing not mentioned is this drawn tight enough that we're going to go out and start acquiring right away, or is it going to be as it develops, they have to give it to us?
Yeah, I think wait as development comes and show them this plan and give them, they'll have some room to make decisions, but like Greg said earlier, we just got to make sure that these key access points are preserved and protected. And so at this point, when we started this process, I think I was going, oh my gosh, we got to find $50 million to build this thing. We got to build this. But the more that the plan came into play and the more that, Doug Halverson and the team said, hey, this is really attractive development, we kind of say, maybe we don't need to go pay for all of it. As development comes in, they now can understand how all this is going to work together. And so we're hoping that we can let them kind of grow us into it as long as we preserve the integrity, like Greg said. And then I would just say, and if you looked at this, we don't have the jurisdictions outlined, but most of it east of 57th, 60th is in Bellevue's jurisdiction, and west of that is in Papillions. And they've been great to work with. They're getting more and more disciplined on working with the developers and showing them the plan. So I'm very confident that partnering with the development community, partnering with those cities, we can do that without going out right now and starting getting right of way. And when property owners, for example, this property is, I think, owned by one family, the Dickinson family, and they've been good to work with. They understand development, and so now they can see this and they know how to market their property if somebody wants to come and buy it. We got to have that intersection there. So I don't, this is a plan. We haven't engaged an engineering firm or anything to start doing design. We'll kind of let that happen naturally. If we do feel like things aren't going in the right way, then I could see us working with the Papillion and Bellevue to going, hey, we probably need to pioneer something, but we're not there yet. But good question on that. So.
I'll open the public hearing for this item. I invite the public to give input on this particular proposed action. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Then I close the public hearing if there's no further discussion from the commissioners. I'd ask for a motion on this item.
I would move that we recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan for the addition of the study to Chapter 5, Section 5.1, Profile Section, and updates to Map 21 as shown in the information presented this evening. The proposed amendment is consistent and compatible with the surrounding area and the overall comprehensive plan goals and objectives.
Second.
Please vote. Eight yeas, 2 absent, Van Wielden, Matea, motion carries.
Item number 3, public hearing and recommendation, comprehensive plan amendment to Section 5 Transportation, adoption of the Western Sarpy County Transportation Enhancement Plan. The applicant is Sarpy County.
Thank you again. This is what we're calling the WESTEP plan. This is the Western Sarpy Transportation Enhancement Plan. And this is a partnership between the City of Gretna, City of Springfield, City of Papillion, and the county. The City of Gretna actually applied for and received grant funding to fund this. And so they really were the catalyst to kicking this study off and getting the partners on board. The group did ask MAPA, the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, to lead the effort. They do transportation planning. And so we thought it'd be good to have that under their umbrella. And they also brought money to the table to help fund this. So great partnership there. This is a long-term road network plan for Western Sarpy County. So the one you just saw is kind of a nice little area, easier for people like me to comprehend. This is a massive, the whole western part of Sarpy. So much higher level, lots of complexity and different, types of growth and pressure and everything. We do have Jim Borner from MAPA here with us. He was the lead person for MAPA and was really helpful in keeping this project moving along. Jason Carby from HDR, they were the lead consultant. Jason will be the one to present. And then, of course, Denny and his team, Zach Hergen-Rader, and the city partners participated with us. And then, of course, Steve Jensen, we had help on this one. So I'll turn over to Jason.
All right, good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm going to start with a real brief introduction. The grant funding that Scott spoke to is called Heartland 2050. We provide transportation funding for construction and planning projects. This Heartland 2050 is really set aside to allow communities, in particular smaller communities in our planning region, to have an opportunity to take a long look at their transportation planning. So as Scott mentioned, City of Gretna brought that on. We recognized early on that this is a regional study, and so they brought in all the communities, including Sarpy County. The words overmatched really are describing the fact that each community pitched in and made that study a little bit bigger into what Jason's going to talk about here shortly. But just emphasizing again that the collaboration was great. We were able to work with a lot of partners, a lot of stakeholders came to the table and talked to us about things that are important to them in a transportation plan, everything from law enforcement, emergency responders to people who just use the area to travel through or to live and work. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So this is a little bit, I always think this is a little bit of maybe a little bit of throwing you off a little bit when you see this map. But basically the study area looks kind of like all of Sarpy County, but it goes from Schramm to about 72nd or 60th. So we are kind of catching that eastern study that we just saw. But it is a very large expanse of the county, and a lot of it, is coming online with the expansion of the sewer system. So lots of growth, and all the jurisdictions kind of came together and said, hey, when Gretna grows into Papillion, grows through Sarpy County, how do we make sure that what we're doing kind of lines up? And so that's really a lot of the focus of this. So, we looked at all kinds of different considerations as we work through this plan with all the partners. How do we think future land is going to develop? How much traffic and how much travel and connectivity is required? What are some of the key characteristics of roadway design that we all kind of, need to embrace as we continue to grow and these corridors expand? But, really thinking about safety. And then again, as this, corridor kind of, or as the study area kind of transitions from, being kind of more rural in nature to more, urban, as these communities grow, let's think about transit, let's think about, biking and walking, environmental considerations, and clearly you all know that costs are important too. So how do we do this in the most cost responsible way that we can do it? So this is the map, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but using the tools that MAPPA has, we could look at how much traffic we thought was going to be there through 2050. But I think the key thing is here, we've tried to build a plan that's going to go beyond 2050 to give us the expandability to essentially address all of the long-term needs that we were going to need as a part of this. Get corridors. And so a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of this is grown by that sewer growth area. And so with all of that land coming online, how do we get out in front of this growth and make sure we're being, planning for, a responsible, expandable, scalable network. And so what we did is we kind of looked at identifying what that arterial network might look like. And so you can see, again, all the way from Schramm all the way down to the Platte River, identifying what arterial types we would kind of designate in that growth area. I'm not going to get into too much detail other than to point out we've got we've identified that South Sarpy Expressway, but also that we've identified two corridors that we're calling our arterial ones, and those are 192nd Street and 168th Street. So both of those corridors north of Flug, we've kind of designated for the highest level of potential expandability out of these, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means here. But on the rest of these corridors, we've also kind of designated what we've got an arterial 2 designation. And so you'll see a little bit more about what that means here. So for an arterial 1, what we've essentially done is said, let's designate 150 feet of right-of-way. These are potentially going to connect to the interstate. These are going to connect to growth areas to the north, high mobility corridors to the north. Let's make sure that whatever growth might happen over the next, 50, 70 years, we've got enough in place to address not only, the vehicular travel needs, but also, we heard a lot from the stakeholders how important it was for, quality of life and people be able to move around by all means. So can we get side paths on all of these arterials eventually, right? This is you see here, this is 6 lanes. It's got turn lanes, it's got, trails and sidewalks. This isn't probably what's going to happen 5 years from now, right? This is, we're building in that expandability so you can grow and accommodate all the future needs. So in these 2 key corridors, 168th and 192nd, when they get platted, all the partners have agreed they will designate 150 feet of right-of-way, public right-of-way for those streets. I think that's kind of one of the key takeaways. We've got a little bit more detail on what everybody thinks that ought to look like as well. So the typical corridors, those other kind of arterial 1-mile grid corridors, would have 110 feet of right-of-way. So that's a little bit more. If we went back to this map right here, you can see we've kind of basically said Capehart's already got enough platted along it that it's already at 100 feet. So what we're trying to do is get about 5 more feet to give a little bit more room for some separation. When you see a little bit of separation between the travel lanes and the bike path or the shared use path, that just gives a little bit more area. You could, even do like a bus pullout or something in the future if there were transit along here. So it just gives just a tiny bit more space for kind of safe operation in these corridors. So that was one of the big takeaways with this, that all the partners kind of agreed that 110 feet of right-of-way instead of 100 feet of right-of-way. And you can see this is in corridors where we've already had platted. You can see the difference between what you've got there with a little bit more separation between that bike lane on the left side there and what you've got here with just 100 feet. And then in some of those conservation areas where we're not anticipating a whole lot of growth, if for some reason in the future they need to be widened, it would be kind of a rural type section with ditches and shoulders and potentially bike paths, but those appear probably long-term projects. So one of the important things is when you start talking about how you implement these corridors is, talking about all the standards that go into it. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail unless you want to know more about it. I could do 30 minutes on this, but I won't. But we are, we do have for each of those arterial types, we do have kind of a set of recommendations on posted speeds, how wide lanes are. You can see here we've got a concept for access. So your typical corridors will have full access is at the quarter mile. And so you will see also that we are recommending a kind of a mid-block or a mid-section, so every half mile in there would have a kind of a through collector street as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. So the collector street policy, essentially what the plan says is that anytime you've got kind of two sections in a row of unimpeded kind of, data centers aren't in the way, the interstate's not in the way, things like that, that you would create a collector corridor that connects those two sections if you've got at least 2 miles that you can develop. We've kind of laid out a map in the plan that you will see for which of those sections is that as a developer comes in, how do they need to designate where those collectors are? And then you'll see also every quarter mile, we've got those through local streets as well. And there's some concepts about what the collector streets might look like. But the idea here really is, so for those shorter trips kind of between neighborhoods, folks don't need to actually go out onto the arterial and kind of add to more traffic. They could actually, kind of go on these. You can see these are kind of, the idea is to control speeds on these corridors, but you've got these kind of neighborhood collectors where you could take some of those shorter trips. And so, I think I mentioned on one of those earlier slides that, you don't start off with that 6-lane, divided urban road on day one, right? So as traffic volumes start to kind of pick up and safety issues kind of start to rear their heads, we've kind of developed a checklist for developers and folks to kind of go through and planning and engineering staffs to go through and kind of identify those kind of trigger points for when different types of improvements might be warranted. And you can see the top picture there is an interim improvement. And so what we're really getting at here is that as you're going down that road between a rural 2-lane road today or even a gravel road today, that first level of improvement might just be building a 3-lane arterial like you've got in that top picture. The idea would be that you can start building some of that infrastructure with that interim improvement and then reuse it ultimately for that second improvement. So the idea is really to, do this as cost effectively as we can. And so this is my last slide. So we are, again, final plan development phase right now. We've kind of did some case studies on how to apply this on a couple of corridors, 156th Street and 204th Street. Again, Papillion, Springfield, Gretna, Sarpy, all kind of work together. It's been a great project. I think it's been a wonderful partnership from my perspective. Potential to maybe do a vertical profile study in this, basically, trying to identify what the ultimate tie-in points might be for developers as they come in, where would their neighborhood collectors tie into the arterial streets, so we can kind of do that in a cost-effective manner up front. And again, all the partners will be adding this to their comprehensive plans, and wanted to thank Gretna and MAPPA for the leadership on this one. So, Scott, anything else? Any questions? It's a lot. This is a long range kind of vision, so it's a little less concrete than some of the things you might see sometimes.
Very high level and kind of covers a large area, but one of the things that they the consultants and the experts would talk about is, and the cities too, is like, we don't want to do Schramm Road again. So if you're on Schramm Road and you're at 72nd Street and you go west, you're on a boulevard. And then when you get to 84th Street, you're in a 3-lane urban. Then when you go west of that, you're on a 2-lane rural. Then you're back to a 3-lane urban, then 2-lane, and so and that's okay. That's not a horrible thing, but we just wanted to make sure that we have a plan for these entire corridors so that, Papillion's not building a 2-lane rural that connects into Gretna's 5-lane urban. And so it's great. There was a time probably when some of you remember that the county and the cities weren't all, very collaborative and cooperating. We've done a lot to resolve that. And I think they all understand this is, nothing's far away anymore. We're urbanizing. It's all happening. And so by having this plan, it's just really going to help us make good investments and do that. And the only challenging thing is now we have to follow it. So, but it was great. And I think, we have this future vertical profile study that's just a natural next step to go. Let's go out and do a profile on Capehart. We know that's one's getting pressure. If we do a profile, we can know what it's going to look like. We can communicate that to developers. We can define access along there and do some of the stuff we were talking about before, make the right-of-way acquisition and the planning process and the investment easier. So really, really good project. HDR was the right company to work with on that. They did a great job for us with their planning team. And we can answer questions, Denny, Steve, Jim, Jason, whatever you have.
I have a question. I brought this up a little bit, was talking to you before we started, but when you had the future arterial network map, if you could bring that back up. Okay, so first of all, and I think you hit it right on the head before when you said we got to get our terminology straight. Is this a Platteview Expressway? Is it the South Sarpy Expressway? Is there Platteview Road still going to be there? I think Platteview Road still exists. And then that new expressway is going to be either Platteview Expressway or the South Sarpy Expressway. And
right.
If we get on the same page with that, it would make my discussion here a little easier too. But but with regard to the expressway, this map here, as I understand it, is you said that's the general location of where you're thinking that might go. Okay, I know it's not in stone, but it's the general location, and that's fine. I have no issue with that. But what my issue is this: the requested action is to amend map 21 of our comprehensive plan. We haven't shown map 21 anywhere yet tonight, but map 21, I believe you had it. It's in the addenda packet somewhere. Let me see.
I will get there. I know.
It was on the 5th page. Let's see here. Well, there you go. Okay, so I'm thinking that the I guess it's called proposed Platteview Road realignment. I'm assuming that's supposed to be the expressway on this map? Or
yes.
Is that correct?
So a couple things. So as you look at this is a map from 2017, which was part of our previous comp plan. When you look at the magenta, I don't know, purple, what we were doing at that time, we thought in those early stages of Platteview Road planning that it was critical to show Platteview Road somehow coming back up to the interstate. We thought that was necessary to justify the state putting an interchange in. As the Benish, which is a consulting firm, did a study of the interchange, we found that's not critical there. The traffic that's coming from the north, coming east and west, and relieving the 370 and the Highway 50 interchange doesn't need that turn back to the north. And we thought as a beltway, it's kind of weird, right, to go this way, then have to go north and then go back to the west. And so, and then knowing as well that while 8 years ago or whatever this felt like out in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like it's happening. And so as the partners in the planning team and the county continue to look at Platte View Road, we in working with the city of Springfield and Gretna, we decided that probably a better alignment is to drop down to Flug and carry out west to the Flug Road future interchange, hopefully. So this is just the plan. It's not engineered or anything. It's just kind of like a corridor identification. What you see, what we're trying to reflect, come from a practical standpoint in the staff report was, hey, this area that's bubbled in red, that's changing. You're adopting a new map. In this area that's in the blue, that's changing. You adopted the Southeast Road Network plan. So we don't have that alignment. I will tell you that we do have HDR under agreement to start looking at that Platte View Road alignment, basically west of 84th Street to Highway 50 and then out along the Flug corridor. Yeah, so is that helpful to?
Yeah, I
map
get that, and I think what you're saying is that the first map that we looked at before is maybe the more current map.
Yes.
This is an old map.
Yeah.
But with the action that we're putting forth today, we're including this map that we're looking at right now, which is old and dated. So I guess my suggestion would be that we update this map 21, so it conforms more with the future arterial network and the terminology of the roads and whatnot, so that this board and the public know where the general location of the correct named roads are going to be. So
I think we can do that. I think for this, we were just trying not to embed it, but we can do that. We'll do that.
It's just confusion when we're putting both of these together in the same motion, and we've got two different maps.
So we'll do that. You obviously have a hearing, they make a recommendation, and then at some point we go to the county board. So before we get to final, we'll make sure that all jives, and this map just kind of disappears because it's old.
When it gets updated.
Yep, appreciate that. Good comment. Yep.
I have a question for Mr. Wilson. Sorry. Yeah, I got to throw that curveball every now and then.
Of course. Kenny Wilson, nice to meet the new people that are here in the commissioners planning.
What about the old people?
Well, it's questionable.
Just wanted your take, as the county's engineer. Did you like everything? Is there something they forgot that you wanted? You okay with what they've proposed? Just kind of want to hear your opinion, make sure you're with them and not against them and sitting there quietly and politely.
No, we have got several engineers that do help with these groups. As Scott had mentioned, we have Zach Hergenrader, and he's been paying attention to the STEP. And let's see, we've got Neil Sellers is construction. Actually, he's got I think a master's degree in that now, but he does all of the construction aspects of it, and we will be sharing in some of that. We have, let's see, 2 currently, and I think we might have 3 if we get another individual who has come to see if he could get a job at Sarpy County. Again, all of the trades that they've been through were construction. So one of the things I hope that the collaboration is really a collaboration where we're not stuck in the dark, and that's not happened to this point. But when you've got a number of let's say consultants who are going to be doing most of the work there, I either have to get a longer one or get this moved on. At any rate, we're working to get things to work. And I did have one consideration on your side. I think, isn't MUD's water system down by Flug Road area going through that? Okay, who gets the water through that? Is that Lincoln then? Presumably.
Where in Flug Road?
right along the river. Let's see, it's along Highway 6.
So at the far western edge of Flug Road where it hits the Platte River? Yeah,
Yes.
that would be City Lincoln, Wellfield.
Okay. That's just one of those things we don't think about during this easy stage. We're just drawing marks, trying to see what we can do with it. But those are the kind of things that we will also have to start looking at too, even before we start the plans on them. But I do appreciate the opportunity. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer as well. I will be more than 95 years old by the time we get this done, just so you know. Thank you.
Stick with it.
I'll open the public hearing for this item. I invite the public to give us their input on this proposed action. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Then I'll close the public hearing. If there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a motion, please.
I would move that we recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan for the addition of the study to Chapter 5, Section 5.1, the profile section, and updates to Map 21 as discussed this evening. The proposed amendment is consistent and compatible with the surrounding area and with the overall comprehensive plan goals and objectives.
Second.
Please vote. Eight yeas, 2 absent, Van Wielden, Matea, motion carries.
Item number 4, public hearing and recommendation, comprehensive plan amendment to Section 5 Transportation, Map 21, anticipated full build-out, street network, applicant is Sarpy County. For this item, refer to the recommendation reports at agenda items number 2 and 3.
Per Commissioner Gift's comments, we'll update that map before it goes to the county board, but this just reflects the updating of the map, so appreciate that.
I'll open the public hearing for this item. I invite you to give your input on the proposed action. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Then I will close the public hearing. If there's no further discussion by the commissioners, I'll ask for a motion.
I would move that we recommend approval of the comprehensive plan amendment to Section 5, Transportation, Map 21, anticipated full build-out street network, as the proposed amendment is consistent and compatible with the surrounding areas and with the overall comprehensive plan goals and objectives.
Second.
Please vote. Eight yeas, 2 absent, Van Wielden, Matea, motion carries.
I will now close the public portion of our hearing tonight. Do the commissioners have any reports? Does the planning department have any reports?
Today at the county board meeting, they approved the special use permit for the, if you recall last month, the dog grooming in River Oaks service. They approved that today. I think that's the only activity today.
Do we have are we confirmed for October 15th?
Yes, we do. We have an application.
We have one application?
An application.
Okay.
At
Is there any further items of business for the board tonight? Then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Iowa.
Good comment on that.